Hey, hi! Welcome to the series of cybersecurity sessions. I am Tota Krishna Hema, your automotive quality assurance expert. So today we would like to discuss about cybersecurity TARA, that is threat analysis and risk assessment in detail in 4 more slides. So what is the goal of TARA? TARA, we have 3 different things to identify, that is first one is CAL level, that is cybersecurity assurance levels. The second one is risk values, and the third one is cybersecurity goals. Like TARA goal is to identify threat scenarios and assess the level of cybersecurity risk. That is CALs, risk values, and cybersecurity goals. CALs are nothing but cybersecurity assurance levels, that is from 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, similar to the SE levels in HARA. Okay, and we have some other thing a part of CALs that are risk values, that is 1 to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in addition to this, like we will have cybersecurity goals as an outcome of it. Okay, identification and analysis of all possible assets of an item and associated threats that can cause a damage scenario. So first thing is we need to identify the item, or we need to define the item, and then we need to identify the associated assets in it, like which is safety, which is security critical, and we need to identify the respective threats which causes damage scenarios. Determine the cybersecurity risk level and cybersecurity goal for each threat scenario. Okay, and relevant for OEMs and suppliers as well. For OEMs, like they will define the entire systems or the automotive's TARA, but wherein the suppliers need to define the TARA for their work scope. So this is a TARA workflow. If you see in the beginning, like we have an item. Item, first of all, it is a high level scope statement or high level definition of the work which is in the scope. Okay, or it is an item is a system or system of systems or a subsystem or simply a function or a feature also. Okay, and first of all we need to define the item definition, and in that, like we need to identify the asserts in it. Asserts are nothing but the cybersecurity critical aspects. So based on the cybersecurity properties and the asset candidates, like we will identify the asserts and we will get the damage scenarios as well. So, and through the threat scenario identification, we will identify the damage scenario and we will find out the impact rating. So what would be the impact? How much severe the particular damage scenario can cause to the asset. So this is called impact rating. So through impact rating, like we will have risk determination. This impact rating will be an input for the risk determination, but wherein the threat scenario identification will be an impact for attack path analysis. And so see, attack path analysis is something like, okay, if you are an electronics student, then if you know the current path, okay, it's like in which the current will pass. So we will have, okay, let me come to the generic example. So you might have seen the puzzles, like, okay, at the end somewhere, like blocks will be there, and you need to find at the end, at one end you will have a rabbit and at the other end you will have a carrot. So like there will be multiple blocks and the carrot need means like this rabbit need to identify the carrot. So you will draw a line, feasible line, like how to get how to help the rabbit to get into that to get and eat that carrot. So this is another example. So as our attack path is something like this attacker or the hacker uh, can hack this asset, okay, and attack paths as per threat scenario. See, each and every threat scenario may have multiple or single attack path, okay. So wherever the interface is there, and wherever, so those many attack paths will be there. For each interface also there will be multiple attack paths also could be possible. So once after identifying the attack paths and analyzing the attack paths, we will get the attack feasibility rating. So this attack feasibility rating will be an input for risk determination. So with impact rating and attack feasibility rating, we will get the risk level, okay, and which will go to the risk treatment decision, and which will go ahead with for finding the cybersecurity goal. So as an outcome, risk level, so you will get the risk treatment decision, so where you will avoid or reduce or share or accept risk. You will transfer it, you will avoid it, you will reduce the impact of it through means like by mitigating it, or by sharing it with the other sharing it means like complete owner transfer or the partial owner transfer to the supplier, or to the respective stakeholder, we can say, and we need to accept the risk. So the cybersecurity goal will be defined, and in the cybersecurity goals we will have multiple cybersecurity goals, and through that cybersecurity goals, like, we need to identify the cybersecurity requirements. So if you see, the item definition is common, and in HARA we will have SL determination, and we will have safety goals, and we will have safety functional safety requirements. Item definition. Item definition is nothing but a high-level scope definition of a system under development. So this is a high-level requirement statement, we can say, for the work in your scope. Okay, an item could be a system. It could be a system of systems for OEMs, and a subsystem or a group of subsystems. In general, an item, in most of the cases, it will be a subsystem or a group of subsystems, because most of the work from the OEM is deployed to its tier 1 or tier 2 suppliers. So the item is our target of evaluation or system under development. Example of item is a feature at vehicle level. For example, adaptive cruise control. Okay. For example, your for example, ABS, anti-lock braking system, or your airbag control. So these kind of features are your item. So sometimes, like, the functionality or the functions, the components or the data are also can be considered as item. For example, in diagnostics module, like, the data collection, or the mechanism or the data storage mechanism will be see, for the networking suppliers, or the data storage cloud suppliers, then it will be like, the data storage, or the data control or the management will be their item, their scope of item. So it's like, based on the scope of your work, like, the item will be defined. So this item definition may be very similar to, or it is almost same for with respect to the item definition of the safety. So this item definition is a common thing for both safety and security, but in terms of safety, we need to define a little more extra, in terms of security, we need to define a little more extra. So asset identification is the other thing, is like, we have identified item. Asset is something like which is a part of item, which is security critical. Okay, our aim is to protect the asset. Okay, we need to protect the asset from attackers or hackers. Okay, asset is a critical for both the stakeholders, means like the interested parties or the stakeholders, we can say, like who are working for this, and also the attacker. It is very critical because the attack assert is a cyber security critical. Okay, asset identification is identification of assets where there is a possibility of consequences of compromised security property, that is damage scenario. So assets will have the damage scenario. Okay, as per the first step, we need to enumerate the asset based on cybersecurity properties. So example of the asset is internet connectivity. Cybersecurity properties. These 6 cybersecurity properties are very important for the assert to identify the damage scenario. Like, if any of these particular cybersecurity properties are compromised, then that will lead to the damage scenario or the threat scenario. So it's like first one is confidentiality. Confidentiality is something like, this particular data can be used internally, or can be used in a particular department. It cannot be disclosed to every of the employee in the organization, or it can be used outside your particular organization or something like this. Is the confidentiality. What about integrity? Data integrity, like togetherness of data, like how it is, like data integrity is very important feature in terms of data storage, in terms of data usage and all. And the next thing is availability. Availability is the data should be available to the all respective users or the stakeholders, like as and when they want it. Non-repudiation is something like, it is a legal term. Non-repudiation is like someone could not be able to deny the usage of documentation. So it's like, it is something like, okay, you have user ID password, okay, which is or you will have a digital signature, and through that digital signature, like you could be able to access the particular data source. Okay, and this is like that. And authenticity is data authenticity, or or the security, cybersecurity related, means like authentic. It should be, the data should be authentic, or the cybersecurity asset should be authentic. And the authorization also, like is whether the user should have right access, read access, or he can edit it, something like that. So a person cannot be an editor for the unnecessary things, like an attacker always tries to hack your data, and he will try to manipulate it, like which will damage your reputation, and which may cause inconvenience or sometimes a fatality to the person, like who is traveling inside the vehicle. So sometimes, like when you are traveling in a car, okay, and due to the vulnerability in or in your in some of your assets inside your car, like through which an attacker found, and which led to the threat. And this threat may cause, like see, hackers generally how they do is, like they will increase the acceleration, they will take out the control of the acceleration, they'll take out the control of gears, they will take out the control of steering, they will take out, means like they drive your car, like it's a maniac thing, but yeah, it happened. So it's like without your intervention. And when you are playing a video game, how it will be the same way, like they will play with your car. So which may end in fatality. So that is the reason cybersecurity is very, very important. So what is damage scenario? Damage scenario is a undesirable result due to the compromise in security property. We read all the 6 security properties. So those cybersecurity properties, if something of the other one or more cybersecurity properties are compromised, then it will lead to the undesirable result. That is called damage scenario. So threat scenario is the statement of potential negative actions that could lead to a damage scenario. So if something is compromised earlier, so we will put it as a statement, and which will identify this, like yeah, it could cause a damage to a particular asset. So that is threat scenario. The next thing is vulnerability. Vulnerability is a weakness that could be that can be exploited by the threat scenario. So what will be the impact rating? Impact rating is an estimate of a magnitude of damage or physical harm from a damage scenario. So as I said, it is like the severity of the damage, is called the impact. Okay, estimation of damage in the group of functional safety, finance, operation, and privacy per damage scenario. These are the subcategories of the damage estimation or the impact rating. Like whether this particular thing is impacting on functional safety, whether this is particular damage is impacting on finance part or the revenue part, whether this particular damage is impacting in operations or it is impacting on privacy, or these kind of segregations it will have. So those segregations we need to put exactly, like where, see, you can see here the functional safety is there, right? So that is the case, like both cybersecurity and safety will have a commonality, except other cases like finance, operations, privacy, like the cybersecurity will act individually. It doesn't have any impact on functional safety. And the next thing is severity of damage is not every stakeholder is not equally affected by every damage scenario. We can rate impact of damage. Attack path analysis are nothing but a set of actions that could lead to the realization of the threat scenario. So I gave it as an example, like rabbit, carrot, and the path, like to find its food, like puzzle games, or the what is that? The circuits, the electronic circuits, and the path in which the current could travel. So these are some of the examples, like which is similar to attack path. It is nothing but the identification of possible path which must be followed by the potential attacker or the hacker to cause a threat scenario. So attack feasibility rating is the estimation of feasibility of an attack per threat scenario. It is a feasibility estimation. Okay, how could an attack can cause. And the next thing is risk determination. So effect of uncertainty expressed in terms of attack feasibility and the calculation of risk as per the threat scenario. So the risk decision treatment is like, when we identify the risk, so what exactly we need to do is like, we need to avoid the risk. Avoid the risk is like, risk is nothing but a potential issue. Okay, and the potential issue, like if you foresee, then you feel like, okay, if I can avoid it, okay, how come I can avoid it? Like by providing a backup to it, and by providing something like, by providing much more in terms of cybersecurity. You will have gateways, you will have uh, so many other things, like firewalls or these kind of things, like to avoid it. Okay, to make more stringent system. Okay, and we need to accept it. If we could not be able to mitigate the risk, then we need to accept it, but simply acceptance is not allowed. So we need to take the mitigation for that also, like if it occurs. See, avoidance is nothing but if it doesn't occur at all, but the acceptance is if it occurs also, like what could be means like a measure which mitigation we can take to reduce the severity of it. So if you, the next thing is share. We can share the risk to other stakeholders. For example, our department is not responsible for example, hardware. Okay, you have identified a risk which is associated with hardware. Then you will share that risk uh, with hardware. But as a system engineer, or a system level business unit, so you are also responsible for that. If it is mutual responsibility, then it is share, you need to share it. Or if it is single entity's responsibility, for example, if you are a software person but you have identified a risk which is associated with her hardware, you're nowhere related to it, then you need to transfer it. Okay, and that means the ownership transfer of the risk. But here is like, you are responsible and somebody else is also responsible. And the reduction is like, you need to reduce the risk of impact of risk. And the cybersecurity goal is concept level cybersecurity requirement associated with one or more threat scenarios. So we have and the statement of cybersecurity goal can refer to an assured attack path or the damage scenario associated with the threat scenario. So you might have get the doubt, like, what is the difference between damage scenario and the threat scenario. So threat scenario is a combination of an assured attack path and damage scenario, and each and every, see, threat scenario could have multiple damage scenarios. So when you see this thing, cybersecurity goal is very similar to safety functional safety goal, um, and you will have a cybersecurity concept as well, which is similar to safety concept. Um, and with this, I came to the end of this topic. Thank you so much for your time. And yeah, I request you to subscribe to my channel and click on the bell button to get the notifications as and when I upload my video. Thank you so much.